call the August 26, 2020 meeting of the Lake Quinsigamond Commission order. The preliminary matter, this is Peter Collins of the Lake Quinsigamond Commission. It confirmed that all members and persons anticipated on this agenda are present and can hear me. Members, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Mr. Pica?
Affirmative.
Okay. Officer Amato?
Affirmative.
Affirmative? Cool.
Yes, sir.
You're representing the Shrewsbury PD?
Yes, sir. Myself and Officer Valier are both on.
Okay, thanks.
Affirmative.
Yeah.
Okay, Mr. Nickerson.
I'm here.
All right, thank you. Ms. Amory? Okay, and Mr. Nelson? Okay, I don't have Bill anyway. So we have, right, me, Mike,
Yes.
Alan, Mr. Plato, Mr. Nickerson. And there, in case there was supposed to be a, I think Worcester has assigned a new rep and a butter rep. She is on right now, but if she is, she can let us know so we know she's here. Okay, so there is representative from the watershed. Is that you, Barbara?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, fantastic. And here. Okay, I don't see her yet. And Jacqueline.
I am here.
Oh. All right, thank you. Looks like Bill just joined us. Bill, you're here? Okay. Go. Answer that. And you're present?
Present.
All right. And Jessica? Thought I saw you on there.
I'm here.
All right. Fantastic. Also, Jim Lundgren, are you with us? Okay, Jim got an invitation, correct?
I can see him he's here.
Okay. Turn your mic on, just to let us know. Okay. I'm figuring out. I see you on there.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now.
I am here.
Thank you, sir. All right. All right. So, good evening. The open meeting of the Lake Quinsigamond Commission is conducted remotely, consistent with Governor Baker's executive order of March 12, 2020, due to the current state of emergency in the Commonwealth due to the outbreak of the COVID-19 virus. The transmission of the COVID-19 virus, we have been advised and directed by the Commonwealth public gatherings, and as such, the governor's orders requirement for the open meeting law to have all meetings at a publicly accessible physical location. Further, all members of the public are encouraged to participate remotely. The order, which you can find posted with the agenda materials for this meeting, allows entirely remotely so long as reasonable public access is afforded so that the public can follow of the meeting. One more page here. Sorry. Please remember to speak clearly in a way that helps generate accurate minutes. After your presentation, members of the board to ask questions. After members have spoken, the chair will afford public comment, when it's appropriate. The chair will ask first members of the public to speak who wish to speak, identify their names and addresses only. But that's important that you identify who you are and what your address is. Once the chair has listed a list of all public commenters, I will call everyone by name. For any response, please wait until the chair yields the floor to you and state your name before speaking. So all comments, please go through the chair. Engage, in a conversation with other members, please do so through the chair, taking care to identify yourselves, just so we can have an accurate record for the minutes. And I would also remind you, and I will do this again while we're talking, that when I do open for public comment on anything, it needs to be germane to the particular topic that we're discussing at that moment. So please bear that in mind. Not the kind of what we're talking about. So if you could help me with that would be great. All right. So first, I want to first order of business is the approval of the minute meetings from June. We had June. Did we end up getting July?
I did not get a copy.
No, I haven't finished July's.
Do we have does everyone have a chance to read the minutes from the June meeting?
Yes.
Okay, so when to accept the minutes of the June meeting?
Chad,
Motion, we
can I
approve
make
the
a
minutes as
comment before
presented.
we accept the minutes?
Pardon me?
Can I make a comment before we accept the minutes?
Yes, of course.
My comments about rowing at the Quinsigamond Rowing Association in the June meeting, the sentence that's in the minutes has a double negative. So it says the opposite of what I said. I'd like that double negative to be removed.
Okay. Let's go.
Yes, I can remove that.
All right, I appreciate it. Okay. Is there a second on the motion with the amended minutes, or I guess a motion for the amended minutes?
I make a motion, we approve the minutes as amended.
Okay. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
I'm going to go through the roll. Okay, I'm going to go through the roll. Aye. Mr. Pica?
Aye.
Officer Amato? Or,
Aye.
all right, Captain DeAndre?
Aye.
Polito?
Aye.
All right, Mr. Nickerson?
Aye.
All right, and Mr. Nelson?
Aye.
Second order on the agenda is the review of and approval of bills and expenses. Do we have any bills and expenses?
Yes. There was
We spent money on this one.
there's one bill for $355 for Permaline. That was to make the no wake signs, the custom made ones for Kings Point, and then we have an extra one in case we need to replace one.
Okay. So those are the monies for the signs that we're going to place at the Narrows at Kings Point. Is there a motion to accept the bills?
Motion to approve.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Is there any discussion? Okay, so we'll take a vote. the roll again. Mr. Collins, aye. Mr. Pica?
Aye.
Officer Amato Valieri?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, love it. All right,
Aye.
Polito,
Aye.
Mr. Nickerson? And Mr. Nelson?
Aye.
Okay. Gonna jostle around. Well, we're gonna go through this, but I'm gonna jostle around agenda somewhat tonight. I want to move the request from Lundgren to hold a boat parade on Saturday. And I'm going to move that up after we do our reports, so that he can hang out here while we're discussing the other things. We can kind of get that behind us. I'm going to start with the reports, and I'll start myself here. Some of that is going to be discussed later on in the lake management plan, but you know, that this isn't an obvious statement, but the lake continues to be very busy and very popular, very dangerous, and you know, we unfortunately we did have a drowning on the lake over on the Worcester side, just a little bit north of Browning Beach, and it was apparently there was a fisherman that had stepped a little bit too far and drowned in the lake. So our heartfelt sympathies go out to he and his family. It's always a tragic thing to have that happen. And it was good that the fire and the rescue could get down there and you know, deal with that in an expedient fashion. So this past Sunday, I was out on the lake doing some filming and just kind of the activity, but we were driven in by the rain, so we stayed out welcome a little bit. But on Sunday night, there was a couple of other instances of people going into the water. Fortunately, there was there. The people were recovered, thanks in large part to a citizen that happened to be there, happened to speak Portuguese, because the victims were screaming for help in Portuguese. So that was good that happened, and she was able to go in there with some other people and bring the door. I also want to thank the law enforcement, PD out there, because they were on the scene very quickly, and I know that he was up the lake. Mr. Capalbo was up the lake. Large tree that had fallen into, and he got that call and got right down there, and so I'm going to say thank you for that in a quick. And this is all going on, by the way, while there was basically, you know, a monsoon happening on the lake. So when we were out there, it was sunny, the clouds were nice. You know, it was kind of just a nice Sunday afternoon. And this all went down from the time it started raining on our boat to this incident was probably a half an hour. So it went downhill very fast. And I just want to say how much we appreciate law enforcement and citizens responding and doing the right thing and helping those people. Also, there was a tree that went in the water, and when Officer Capalbo was finished doing what he was doing down by the boat ramp, he went back, got the tree to shore, and I think the town, I'm not sure, it must have been DPW, went in there, cut the tree up and got rid of it. So that was done in the expedient fashion as well. I appreciate that effort as well. So because that was a big problem. Also, I want to reach out to Mike Liberty, because Mike actually stayed with the tree for a while after Officer Capalbo got called up, to the boat ramp. Mike did not want to leave the thing around there unattended because it was extremely dangerous. It was the time of night where you wouldn't be able to see it. So really, all that went well. So we're very, very fortunate, and I'm grateful that it was, that it wasn't any worse than it turned out to be. I would say this, and myself at the same time, when you see clouds coming in, and you're looking, because we all have the technology now. You can look on the weather and see the map. When you see stuff starting to close in, even though you say, well, that's going to go. So, I don't think it's going to hit us. My advice to you would be, for sure, don't try to predict what the weather's going to do, because when you screen, it looks like it's going to go north of you, but all it has to do is go about, on your screen, and it's over you. And I can tell you, I got totally doused and soaked, and so it happens quick, and it was electrical, and there was lightning and thunder all around. So you see those kind of weather patterns coming in. My advice is to get off the lake as soon as possible. There was a giant. It was busy anyway in front of the boat ramp, but when we came to unload, and we were there next door at DRC. The boat ramp probably had, I'm going to say, 8 or 9 boats in line to get out of there in the pouring rain, thunder and lightning, all sitting there waiting to get out of that boat, get their turn to get out that boat ramp. And that's when the victims ended up in the water. So it's a dangerous situation. Give yourself plenty of time to and into safety as soon as possible. It's not something you want to mess around with out there. Also, on some other notes that the activity I saw on Sunday wasn't quite as robust maybe as other Sundays have been. Partly, I think, because of the weather, but it was a busy Sunday, and the activity we saw out there and the behavior of some of the boat operators out there was almost comical. I'm getting images and videos of just bizarre traffic and people swamping boats, including a pontoon boat, which got to be sitting 2.5, 3 feet off the water, and a boat went by and literally got water up on top of the deck, and the person's dinner was floating around on the boat. So that was something. So I want to remind everyone on the anywhere else you operate a boat in this state, is that you are responsible for your wake. You are responsible for the damage your wake does. I think a lot of people, and me included, I guess, sometimes you don't really think about it because it's behind you and you're not looking at it. But when you go by, when you take off from a standing, or you're, cruising by at 14, 15 miles an hour, you're going to create a big wake that can damage other vessels, that can damage, you can flip over a kayak in that kind of wake. And, not even if you get, you don't even have to come that close to them. So, and you're responsible for it. So, if law enforcement should see you do something like that, where your wake actually tipped over a boat, they can you for doing that. And if there's any damage to a vessel, you could be responsible for any monetary. So I'm going to want to be aware of their wakes, to be aware where their wakes are and how it affects the shoreline, other boaters, swimmers. And another thing I saw out there continuously is people coming really close to beaches and swimming areas. And the swimming area does not have to be a public swimming area. It doesn't have to be, the state parks, or it doesn't have to be Sunset Beach. It could be a private swimming area. It's the same rule. You need to be 150 feet if you're operating that boat anywhere above 5 miles an hour. So difficult on some places on Flint, on Lake Quinsigamond, because 150 feet where the lake is the width of the lake. However, it still needs to be adhered to, because that's very, very dangerous. And on after this is the other thing I saw out there was swimmers out way beyond, especially at Lake Park, way beyond. And we stopped and spoke to a swimmer. You're way beyond, which, you know, this person was actually, he was at Lake Park. You know, he was halfway over to the other shore, I think, when we went over there. He was over there a ways, a distance from the actual marked swimming area. So he's out 50 feet from that, not even 50 feet from shore. He was 50 feet from the marked swimming area. And, you know, this was Sunday. This was like, sorry, it was Saturday. And it was just crazy. There's boats all around. And he had his hand up in the air. And we thought he was in trouble. And we went over there. Oh, thank you very much. I was just, you know, putting my hand up to the, and I said, well, from our perspective, we could see you, but the boat coming at you that you were waving away could not. And, you know, you get back in the shore a little bit. He said, his words were basically, well, thank you for your concern. And back to the beach. I drove away just to see what would happen. So I was heading south, or north rather, and I drove away. I got, you know, maybe halfway to, and I turned around and there he was out there again. The first time the donkey kicked you was the donkey's fault, but you know, you go back there, you know, that could be a fatality out there. So, and I feel bad for anyone that you know, runs over someone like that or hits someone like that, you know, not knowing they're out there and they should be out there. You cannot see ahead in the water, especially if the head is doing the crawl swimming. You're not going to see much of anything. So if your boat is forward, you may not see this swimmer. So the swimmers need to understand that there is no swimming across the lake. That's against the rules. There is no swimming 50 feet from shore. That's also a violation. So, and I know that some people have said to me that, well, we talked to you know, the city or the state, and they said we could do this or we could do that as long as we had like a float tied to us so people could see us. No float, no nothing. You could have a boat tied to you, unless that's the only way. You know, your boat's not under power and you're trying to get the thing back to shore. That's okay, but any other time, do not swim or do not put yourself in the water more than 50 feet from shore. So that's my my last thing for now. So thank you. Mr. Pica.
Michael Pica, Vice Chair. Can people hear me?
Yes,
People,
I can hear you.
Okay. Okay, well, let me move along in terms of a few items of note. The eaglets are flying around the lake. I'm not so much of a birder as to know when they might fly off for further places, but they're obviously left the nest and they're exercising their wings. The nuisance noise is a little more so muted, but still evident at times. The weeds in the lake are mature and prolific. And overall, there's a heavy use this summer season. I'm concerned that the lake may be reaching a maximum safe level of activity. And there may be some need for mitigation like that when the ramps are full on Route 20 and off of the North Quinsigamond Ave, that's it. And I want to just add to Chairman Collins' comments that common sense and safe judgment should be your guide. It's not all about me. The more people and boats on the lake, the more vigilance is required by swimmers, by anybody in a vessel. And again, why? Because the lake is very busy, and there are people that are trying to do things that they shouldn't maybe be doing when it's that busy. For instance, you don't see crew boats trying to row on a Saturday or Sunday afternoon. Well, you know, you also don't see fishermen trying to troll fishing lines behind a boat because they're aware of the fact that that's not the time to do that. But there's some people who want to be towing tubes and maybe water skiing, and you know, when there's a lot of boats, it's really not safe at a time like that. But some of my comments I'll leave till later on. But thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Pica. Good advice for all. Officers Amato and Valieri. Still with us?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Yep, I can hear you. Yep.
I've been off for a couple of weeks, but apparently they have been filling the boat with more manpower, at least 2 guys a day. They've been trying to fill it every night. The chief is well aware of the activity and the amount of people that are coming to the lake and how busy it is. So he's been very proactive in trying to get the boat filled as much as possible with the manpower that we have. And I think it's been working out pretty well the last couple weeks. There is one thing that we discussed maybe for next year at the posting at each ramp, Flint Pond and North Quinsigamond boat ramp, is the rules and regulations, both bilingual and in bold writing, and make it a lot larger so people will actually see it and so they can read it, because the rules and regulations that are posted inside the boards now, people just walk by it and just shrug their shoulders, and I don't think anybody's even looking at that. So if we have something a little larger next year, and so people know that everything on the lake, all the violations are arrestable, that we also plan to enforce the ramps a lot more next year. I think that's going to curb a lot of the problems that we have going forward, because the problem's already out there. If we can curb it at the ramps and keep people from actually coming in, any violations as far as unregistered or improper markings, things like that, then we can turn them away pretty quickly, and we won't have to deal with most of the issues that are out on the lake. I don't know if Officer Amato has anything to add, but that's all I have for right now.
Officer Amato, do you have anything to add to that?
Angela, I don't think he can unmute. Can you unmute him?
You have to do *6 if you're on the phone. There he is.
Yes, hi. This is Officer Amato. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
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 Yes, so I heard what Officer Valier said. I agree. I think the signage needs to be larger because people can't see what's up there now. No one really pays attention to it. I've been out as much as possible on the lake these last few weeks. It's been very busy, as expected, and we have tried to step up patrols, and we've tried to fill the boat with 2 guys. That's pretty much all I have.
Okay.
Thank you.
Based on I really want to thank you guys and all the people that man the boats out there, because the activity is certainly been noticed. I'm hearing it from a lot of abutters in a much more positive fashion now. It looks like they're out there. It looks like you're doing your job. It's overwhelming. So we really appreciate the resources that you're throwing behind this, and I think your ideas of the sign are right on point. And I totally agree with having law enforcement personnel at the ramp, because I think we probably knock out 25% of the problems we're having right now by stopping boats that shouldn't be on the lake in the first place from being on there. So I think that's a great thing, and I really appreciate what you guys are doing, and also the chief's attention to this whole thing. So thank you for all that. And I know it's not easy. And it's Sunday when I don't know if it was you in the boat with Calbo Kyle, but I mean it was not pleasant out there in the pouring rain, and you're still out there. So we really appreciate you sticking with it. Mr. Polito. Oh, sorry, Captain DeAndre.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I'll just echo what Shrewsbury said in regards to it being a priority out there. We know how busy it is. Trying to get the guys out there as frequently, as often as possible.
Okay, and same as goes to you, Captain. That we have seen Worcester out there more. So we really appreciate that, and I think it's going to make a difference. So thank you, Mr. Polito.
I too would just like to thank law enforcement for the uptick in activity. They've been doing a wonderful job. They've been very busy through a lot of adverse conditions, and very much appreciated. That's all.
Okay, great. I'm going to circle one thing around Captain DeAndre. They're at Lake Park and Regatta Point. I know that they're two state reservations, two state facilities. But when there's something going on over there, there's loud music, there's a fire, or I mean a campfire type thing, or you see some kind of weird other inappropriate activity like drinking or something. Is that a call to the Worcester PD, or do you call EPO, the state police, or who's responsible for that?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, no, that would be we'll call the Worcester Police. I mean, a lot of times we'll have details on state police since it is a state park. But if there is any problems, by the Worcester Police Department.
Okay. I mean, that's basically road work there, or you can access all those facilities from the road. So, all right. So, thank you, Captain DeAndre. The other thing I want to comment on too is that it looks like the environmental police have a new boat. In particular, I'm excited about that because they actually can get that boat under the Stringer Dam and over to Flint Pond, and they were over here working it. So that was good. They did. We had a meeting with the chief and Officer Amato and Valieri, and some selectmen, the town manager and stuff. But that same night, almost like magic, there was a new boat on Flint Pond, and they had stopped someone right next to the buoys that we had put in for no wake zone at the Route 20 bridge. Those buoys are installed, by the way, and we're still waiting to get the signs up. But so it was good to see that. It was good to see a boat over there that can continue. I'd love to see that boat parked on the lake. I don't know their main boat looks like it may be able to fit, but the windshields on those that kind of stick up. So I don't know about the main boat that they have, or if that boat's still parked at the Shrewsbury Boathouse. But this boat that they had was smaller and stealth and unmarked. So it was nice to see that over there. So I definitely appreciate that. Okay, so moving on, Mr. Dickerson.
I do not have a report.
Okay, thank you. And Mr. Nelson.
There are a couple of things I'd like to mention, but first, I want to thank law enforcement for their ability to get out in the lake so much. It's great. I know the lake's real busy, but it's great to see how much you've been able to get out there this year. The two issues I want to mention is the Quinsigamond Rowing Club is managing to get out there and do what rowing they can under the COVID-19 restrictions. They, of course, can't use 8s and 4s. They can only row in singles. And that has led to some sort of constraints, really, in their rowing. The first is the lake being so busy, they can get out for real early in the morning before it gets busy, but because they have to disinfect their boats beforehand, disinfect them afterwards, only one person can be on the dock going out at a time, one person on the dock coming in at the time, that they basically have 2 periods from 5 a.m. to 7 a.m. that they can go out, and then from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. After that, the lake just gets too crowded, too busy. It's too dangerous to be out there in a small single. But the difficulties they're running into, of course, is that the club has a limited number of small singles, and all those people who used to row in 8s and even multiple 8s at a time can't fit in. They're using up the small boats, and those people who own their own small singles, they've run out of room in both Bay 3 and Bay 8. And my understanding is now a waiting list of at least 6 people to try to get a single into Bay 8, and I don't know the exact number, but I believe Bay 3 is also full. So they're doing their best to row, but they're just constrained, like everybody else is, by the situation we find ourselves in. As far as sailing goes, my second point on the lake, Regatta Point has been renting their boats out and having very limited sailing as well, only members of the same family in a boat. But they're going to end that on Labor Day. So they've got less than a week and a half of sailing on the lake before that ends. That's it, unless anybody has any questions.
I got one question, Bill. Two things. Are you guys parked at Regatta or at the DRC?
We're at the DRC, and we actually park behind the DRC building, not on the boat ramp next door.
Yeah, I mean not parked. I mean where you keep the boats.
Oh, the boats are kept at DRC. They're all kept at DRC.
Okay, all right. Park was the wrong word. Okay, so the boats are at DRC, and I could have sworn I saw 4s out there, quads.
Actually, according to the Massachusetts rules, any family of under 10 can take a boat out, but they have to be in the same family. So if you have 4 family members who can row, they can take a 4 out. If you have 8 family members living together, they could take an 8 out. I haven't heard of an 8-member family rowing yet.
That'd be nice. Okay. Okay. So, and yeah, the community sailing app, they're closing on Labor Day. So that's they had a challenging season this year, and I feel for them.
Yeah, the wind doesn't come up for them to sail until the lake gets crowded. They don't have a chance to go before the wind comes up around 10:30, 11.
Right, and it's been. I mean, that's the crazy point over there is from Route 9 south to 290. It's very, very active. So, okay, thank you very much. And I guess that's it for reports. Up next, we have. I'm gonna ask Mr. Lundgren to just give us a idea of what you'd like to do out there.
Can you hear me? I think we're good to go, right?
Just Jim, tell us who you are and what your address is, please.
Lundgren from Salem Street in Auburn. I have house, family, life. What I was looking to get a permit for was a waterborne gathering for political expression on Saturday, August 29th. Possible rain date of the following day, 30th. It's a Back to Blue Trump gathering. This is an outdoor waterborne political gathering defined by the Governor of Massachusetts COVID-19 order number 6. The event on Lake Quinsigamond is open to anyone on the lake. Is the intention to have people on the lake and not have people coming to the lake. I'm not sure as of this time. It looked when I filed a permit, it would have about 15 people. I think it's a little bit over 20 now, saying they're definitely coming. There's no sign of official gathering. Prior to this, I spoke to Chief Anderson, not to cause any additional strain on maritime for this. So when we talked to him, he gave the approval. He didn't have problems with it. He stated that it was to have the lake patrol on the lake on that day. We're looking with the current COVID situation. We felt it would be promoting safer conditions that we have being underway during the event rather than being stationary. So description, what we'd like to do is have all maritime vessels embark in single file, ride north along Lake Quinsigamond along the shorelines from South Bay and follow the contour of east side of Lake Quinsigamond, not to conflict with other maritime traffic. The route will continue north to the Interstate 290 bridge and then return south along the west side of Quinsigamond. The speed of the vessels will be maintained 5 miles per hour and will commence approximately 1,400 hours. And we estimate close to maybe 2 hours. It will take to get that speed to go up and back. The gathering, like I had said earlier, was discussed and approved by Shrewsbury Police Chief Kevin Anderson prior to organizing the gathering. We also obtained a state permit from the Massachusetts Environmental Police this day. All boaters are encouraged to follow existing social and gathering guidelines for this event for COVID-19. All boats will be, a vessel will be at least 6 feet apart from each other during a 2-hour gathering. All local rules, regulations, U.S. Coast Guard regulations we follow during an event. And at the start and completion, boats are encouraged to limit the rafting to 3 vessels per the governor's COVID-19. I don't think we'll have any issues with traffic on the lake Saturday, as it's supposed to rain in the morning, and usually that will limit the traffic out there. It should be a fun family event. I've supported the commission with the map of the route and the instructions that we are following, and that's about all I have for you.
Chair, can I ask a question?
Go ahead.
Chair, can I ask a question?
Yes, you may. Is my mic turned off? I'm sorry. Hold on one second.
Okay, no, fine.
Okay.
Looking at the map you had with your application of how you wanted to go down the, go north on the east side of the lake and then return on the west side of the lake. I know in the past, whenever we have a big event going on in the lake, such as a wakeboard, wakeboard competition, or a dragon boat race, or even a crew regatta, we usually keep one lane along the east shore open for traffic that is not part of the actual event, but for other boats, people live on the lake who want to go back and forth. So I'm just wondering if we can have also a lane for the rest of the traffic so they can get by and they're not excluded from the lake during your 2-hour event.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, so I think I can answer, Jim. Is that in this particular case, I don't believe these guys are asking for a lake closure. They're just, they're going to be basically single file parade, and I think there'll be plenty of room for the boats to go down. Like in the dragon races and the regattas in particular, that's where we get concerned about that, because during the heats, there's four or five boats abreast on the lake, and it's hard to get down there. And also, as you know, with regattas especially, is that they don't want any wakes, and justifiably so. They don't want any wakes going down beside them while they're in the race. So because it's just dangerous and it disrupts the race. So what we've asked in the past is that in between those heats, that the boats will be able to go down in this eastbound lane in Shrewsbury. I think for the purposes of this, people will be able to pass pretty freely around the parade. And Jim, you can correct me if I'm wrong on that. That you're going to be kind of tucked in doing your own thing, and so you're just to be taking up one lane anyway.
We're looking to take the contour of the shoreline, so the whole remainder of the lake will be open. There's been many other parades on the lake, and I've never seen anyone obstruct the travel of normal travel during those parades. I don't think that.
Right. I would ask people, anyone who's watching right now, that while the parade's going on, don't cut in front of them, or try to cut across. That's happened before. At one of the boat parades we had in the past, is someone actually cut in between the boat line and got out there. But it should be so try to let all these guys pass when they go by. It's not that many boats, so it shouldn't take that long for them to go by. It's a short train. Any other questions or comments regarding the parade?
Mr. Chair, Michael Piker.
Yes, sir.
My question to Jim would be, what's going to go into his determination as to whether the parade goes forward or not on Saturday relative to the weather conditions?
I believe I'm going to watch the weather conditions, and as long as it's not like the storms we had the other day when everyone was out there and had that really inclement weather, there's no lightning along with the storm, we probably will still do it even if it's raining.
Okay.
Thank you.
That's any other questions? Okay, so
I'm sorry, this is Deborah Kickham. Can I ask a question, Peter?
sure. Yes.
I just want to, they're not going to be playing music, or it's not going to be adding to the loudness on the lake. Just want to make sure that's not part of it.
That's not the intention. I mean, people might have normal radios on the boat like they do every other day boating, but there's no loud music, bullhorns, that type of thing is going on at all.
Okay.
Thank you.
So no fireworks, firearms shooting in the air like Dodge City. None of that stuff's going on, right?
No, that's not in our plan.
Okay. Jim, I got to compliment you on the thoroughness and the detail and the comprehension comprehensiveness of your plan. And you basically spelled the whole thing out, so there wasn't a lot of things we had to question, and it was very thorough and very nice, and it made things a little, I think, easier for all of us. And I don't know if I'm assuming Bill must have, the other members got the plan because I sent it out, but I appreciate that because it does help immensely when we're trying to decide about things like this. I guess the question in front of the board right now is this it's obviously a permittable event. But what I mean by that is it's an event, it's a parade. They're going to be out in the lake. We can ask them to submit a permit for it, or we can, say, okay, we are aware of it, and do they need to pull a permit for the event? I guess that's the first question I want to discuss. Are there any comments?
What's normally the protocol that you do for your other boat parades?
Well, to be frank, the only other boat parade that we've sanctioned, we'll say, something slipped by us. I mean, I know there's a few birthday parades that went by, and I think some people went out at Halloween one year and went around and they had a boat. But usually I think the boat parade that we officially have as a fundraiser that's done by the Lake Quinsigamond Watershed Association. I think probably the biggest boats we had there was maybe 8. I don't know. We haven't had a big turnover. So we really haven't required people to pull a permit for that. But they did come in front of the board like you are, and they submitted a plan, and they said this is what we're going to do, and they told us what was going on. So we're not trying to play favorites there. The other thing with the watershed parade, the watershed event, it was a fundraiser for the lake. So I think that the general consensus within the board was that we didn't want to charge someone a permit fee so they can raise money for us. So they're raising money for the lake, and we're charging them $150 to do it. So I thought the board felt that it wasn't appropriate to do that, and we didn't have any problems. But either way, I mean, for me, I don't know if we need to actually have a permit drawn. What we have to be careful with, Jim, is that because we do charge people for the regatta permits, and we do charge people when they have the dragon boat race, and I know it's a different situation, and they're taking up the lake, and a lot of the regattas are requiring a ramp closure and whatnot. So it's a little bit different, but I don't want to set a precedent out there that we never charge for boat parades and they can just do what they want. So we're, God forbid something happens out there, Actually, I do have one question for law enforcement. Kyle and Sean, is that confirmed that you guys will be on the boat Saturday?
This is Officer Amato. Yes, that is. I will be out there, sir. It's affirmative.
So, if for example, like what happened Sunday, you're riding along in the parade, and all of a sudden you get a call that someone's in the water and at the Corzini ramp that needs assistance. That you're gonna leave the parade and go down there? Is that? And I'm not trying to be a wise guy or ask a stupid question. I just want to make sure that that it's not one of those details where you're just assigned to the detail and you gotta stay.
No. If there's someone in distress, I will have to leave and I will have to address that.
Okay. I'm assuming there'll be other law enforcement people involved in the parade, but that's good. Okay.
I just want to say I have 30 years of law enforcement. I was a former police officer assigned to Lake Quinsigamond, and there are police officers active duty to be with me that day in their boat.
Okay. So I guess what's the pleasure of the board with this? How do you want to handle it?
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Do we have
hello?
pure freedom to say either you must have a permit or you don't have to have a permit? There are no laws constraining us on which way to go.
I believe that's a discretionary part on for us.
Okay, good.
I do require, when we first approached by this, I did ask these guys to come in and tell us what, I want to be aware of what's going on in the lake at all times. And I want to be careful that we do things in a fair and even-handed manner, and that we treat everybody basically the same. But that said, as you saw in the plan, they pretty much checked all the boxes on what they're going to do, how they're going to do it. They're saying no loud music and all that stuff. So I think it's going to be pretty much self-policed, if you will. I don't know if that's a good expression or not in this case, but just they basically have shown a pretty solid plan of things. If things get out of hand, we have a police officer there who knows the rules, and I'm confident that they will deal with it if something should go awry. So that means if a bunch of people, the driver of the boats, chucking down beers, and people are out there with bullhorns and screaming and yelling and playing their stereos at concert level sounds, that will put a stop to it. Is that a correct assumption?
Can I make a comment, please?
So, yes, Mr. Pike, Mr. Polito.
I think just by having this, they're coming in and making a presentation with this, it's given us notice that they're going to have an event on the lake. And I think that's all that we need to do. I don't think we need to act anymore on it.
In this circumstance, I'm going to. Any other questions or comments?
So we have the digression then saying this is a small, well-behaved boat parade. We can go ahead without a permit, but that does not obligate us to, in the future, for some large, massive boat event, to say we have to do the same thing.
No, that's correct. And there's a trigger too here, Bill, that for boats that for events that are under 25 boats, and 25 the Lake Quinsigamond Commission can require a permit if you have one boat out there having an event, but typically that wouldn't make a lot of sense. But for an event that would impact, here's how I look at it: something that's going to impact the lake and impact the residents on the lake, such as a regatta where they basically, you can't effectively use that part of the lake for the day. Okay, the dragon boat race, same thing. The wakeboard boat, the Woo Fest, that was the same thing to me. We made them pull a permit because you're going to have out there. Not only that, those guys had huge sound systems blasting out in the lake. It was fun to watch. I had that was a fun event, but it caused things to happen on the, it was an event. It was a big event, and not as big as they wanted it to be, actually, because that's why they stopped doing it. But they were trying to build that up to be a big event, and some people enjoyed it, some people didn't. Most of the complaints and comments I got with that was because of the wakes and the damage that happened to the shoreline. But this particular event and the boat parade that we do for a fundraiser, they're basically they're in a line, and they're going down the lake, and they're kind of out of the way, and anyone can either go around them or do whatever they have to do. We're not calling for no wake zone. We ask people to be, use common sense and don't swamp any boats, or anything like that, or cause any, anything to be unsafe. But for the most part, we're really not. They're not asking for no wake. They're not closing down the ramp. So in my mind, it's not really a. I think we need to, make them go through the permit process, and and the other, not for nothing. It's in support of law enforcement. So, and I can say that the law enforcement this year on Lake Quinsigamond is I do anything I can to celebrate it, I guess, at this point, because they've done a good job, and it hasn't been easy. And they're getting pressure from everywhere. They're getting pressure from us here at the commission. They're getting pressure from the citizens. They're getting pressure from the the perpetrators they have out there doing crazy and inappropriate things. So in that case, I also think it's a nice thing.
Yeah, I also forwarded the approval from the state environmental police for this over to have an emailed her the state permit that approved this already.
Okay.
And say that most of us that work on the lake and know the lake, we're very versed in the chapter regulations, and I don't anticipate any issues whatsoever.
All right.
Mr. Chair, Michael Piker, Vice Chairman, I have one last question. I really like to move it along for a vote then. So my question is, I guess, directed to Jim Lundgren. Are they charging any fees for the parade? And if so, where's the money going to?
There's no charges, no formal sign. Just it was a one event that we put together as a family event for the people on Lake Quinsigamond. There's no.
Thank you.
No cost.
All right.
It seems to have touched all the points.
All right. Oops, excuse me, Sean, you had
Yeah, just so you know, I just confirmed that environmental police will be out there with 2 officers as well.
All right, perfect. Okay. I guess I'll entertain a motion to to approve this without a without. I don't even know if we need to vote, to tell you the truth, because we're not voting to approve a permit. Do we need to vote to not approve a permit?
I think you still approve it just to approve the event.
Yeah, we
Okay.
could give them the benefit of the doubt that we said
motion to approve the
yes
event.
publicly.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion, we approve the event as presented.
Is there a second?
A second from.
Sorry, second from what?
From Michael Piker.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Piker. Okay. I'm going to do the roll. Peter Collins, I vote aye. Mr. Piker.
Aye.
Okay. Officer Amato and Officer Valier.
Aye.
Okay.
Aye.
All right. Captain DeAndre. Yep. I don't know if we lost him or.
I think it's
I
Mike.
think you have to hit star 6, yep.
Hear me now?
Yes.
Yep, we can hear you.
Sorry, it muted me somehow. Aye.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Polito,
Aye.
Mr. Nickerson,
Aye.
Mr. Nelson.
Aye.
All right, so voted. Enjoy, guys. Please be careful out there.
Thank you, everyone. I appreciate it, and hope
Thank
to see you. Continue sending some of those videos of the boats and the issues we've been having out there also to you. Thank you very much.
Thanks much. Okay, moving right along here, the update on the lake management plan. So from the environmental side, from the weed side, we did get approval. We had a vote at the Shrewsbury town meeting, so we got an appropriation of $30,000 from the town of Shrewsbury this year, which was about 50% more than we normally get. So normally we get a $20,000 appropriation. This year we got a $30,000 appropriation because, as we voted last month, we're going to take Newton Pond under our wing, and that $10,000 is to do the first phase of permits for Newton Pond to affect the drawdown and to do weed treatment. Well, actually, the permanent process the permit will be to affect the drawdown and weed treatment. So it's not to do the weed treatment or the drawdown. It's just to get the permits to have that done. So we have to go in this particular case. We only have to go to the town of Boylston and the town of Shrewsbury Conservation to get that accomplished, because it doesn't affect Grafton or Worcester. So we're going to move forward with that. We have a proposal to get some help from the folks at ESS to get those permits going. And I would like to do the drawdown this fall if it's possible. The drawdown's not going to cost. I don't think it's going to cost us any money, because Shrewsbury, the town of Shrewsbury, actually controls the dam. The actual drawdown on Quinsigamond proper does not cost us any money either, because the state goes and DCR goes and lowers the dam for us because they control it. So that's the update on that. Just a quick thing with Half Moon Cove. We discussed this last month, but we are moving forward to get Pro-Silicor on our list of weapons for treating weeds in the lake proper, and we're hoping that will be a solution for us to treat weeds in the habitat areas where we have the endangered species, the Vasii, the Potamogeton. So that's going to be going on. We kind of missed a window for Vasii to go down there and survey it. So we're gonna regroup, and we're gonna go after that. So next year in the springtime, I'm gonna try to get this done over the fall and the winter, and we'll get that stuff on the list and have a plan to implement a pilot phase, if you will, at Half Moon Cove, or Half Moon Bay. So that's the update there. There are, if you go around the lake now, especially here in the south part of it, it is the fan water's up, so it looks pretty weedy over here. But we did do a good job last year of eradicating most of it. So this is basically a maintenance thing, which we probably at this stage probably will not get to, because it seems to we're kind of throwing the thing in there for no reason at all. So we'll return and go back after that again next season. So I don't want to spend the money to get weeds out of the lake that no one's going to be using in another 35 or 40 days. And that covers it on the environmental side. Any questions? Or
Mr. Chair, can you hear me? Michael Piker.
Yes, sir.
Vice Chair. Let me just say, as a residential abutter to the Half Moon Cove, that, abutters to the cove have expressed their dismay, and they're going to be very upset if we don't take action next year, because it's not just a matter of the water frontage being choked with weeds, and the Half Moon Cove is literally choked this season. It's also, let me just say, important relative to the lake's health in general. As I've said in previous meetings, but let me reiterate, it's one of two flowage points for Lake Quinsigamond to empty out. And if it gets choked with weeds, there's going to, inevitably increase the rate of the eutrophication of the lake at large. So let me just say, as a residential abutter to the Half Moon Cove, and also I think as a representative voice of people who live on the Half Moon Cove, they want to see it happen, and they'd like to see it soon. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
All right, thank you. Any other comments or questions?
Mr. Chair, I can also comment. The only people who have complained to me about weed growth on the lake are people who live along Half Moon Bay.
Yes. Understood. So, we're doing our best to go through this. This is a challenging procedure to get it done. So, I think we're on the right track here. So, we're going to take action as best we can. And I just want to reiterate too, is that even despite our best efforts, we don't control natural heritage, and we don't control the Conservation Commission. So, they have purview over that. And if they decide that, they're uncomfortable with our approach to this, they may push back a little bit, and we have to deal with that. So I guess, we have to work smart and hard to move this forward. But I can say from my standpoint that I'm certainly dedicated to doing it, and, we've got this far. And, what the indications we're getting from natural heritage have, basically, they're almost at a breakthrough level that they've even let us, they're even considering letting us, basically experiment at Half Moon Cove around the Vasii. So I think some of that's for their own self-interest, because they're interested to see how Prochylicore behaves in that environment. So that's good. But my commitment is, if I'm still involved, that we will, we will move forward with that pilot program in the spring, or spring and fall, spring and summer. So, any other questions, comments? All right. So, from a public safety standpoint, and I've been getting a lot more comments on public safety than I have been on invasive weeds, even in Half Moon Cove. So, but a couple of things that updates there is that we did put buoys in, and I want to thank Mike Liberty again for helping us, providing the boat to do it, and for and also his labor to help us put the buoys on there in the water. So we have buoys on either side of the Route 20 bridge. It's been kind of effective. I did go over there and film it last weekend on Saturday, and watched a group of jet skiers that hang out at Oak Island go through there. They weren't going 50 miles an hour, but they weren't going 5 either. So they were causing a wake. They were going through there at a higher rate of speed. I'm not even sure if they understand what no wake means or any of that stuff. But we're also going to mount signs on the bridge, just in case anyone's unclear, that you're supposed to be no wake under the bridge as well as around it, where we have the buoys marked. We have the buoys positioned in a way that you can see them around the corner, because one of the concerns there, especially on the north side of Route 20, is that there's a pretty big blind spot on the corner there. So we want to make sure that no one comes whipping around the side of that thing with a jet ski or any other vessel. And not for nothing, jet skis are not the only vessel I've seen go through there at full speed. I've seen motorboats go through there like that, but it's a dangerous point in the lake, and do not pass anyone. I'm almost thinking now we should put that on the sign too, but you do not pass anyone under that bridge. There's no way to do it safely. It's only I think it's 15 feet across or something like that. So once a boat's in there, they have the right of way. Once the bow of the boat's underneath that bridge, they have the right of way. So, that's it. Also, it's probably wise not to swim or stand around in there. I know that some people like to go in and the other thing too is if anyone's listening to this that does this, but please do not throw the rocks in the water right there because it's shallow enough. So that's happened a couple of times, and people tend to hit their props, which may seem like, well, what's the big deal with that? But it's dangerous. It's dangerous to do that. You don't want a boat, to get disabled. So anyway, we're doing that. We also have the signs at Kings Point, and I guess they came in, and for some reason I got a notice that happened, but for some reason I either forgot about it or didn't realize what's going on. We have the signs for Kings Point to install at the Narrows, and we'll put the signs on either shore. We have permission from the homeowner at Kings Point there. This house is right at the Narrows where the lighthouse is. We can put it on his wall. I don't think we actually have to do that. I think we can put it in the water right there. We're trying to figure that out. What's the best way, safest way, most secure way to put those signs there? They're pretty big, so there's not going to be a lot of excuses where I didn't see the sign. We'll see how that goes. If people will slow down in there and bring it down to no wake and it's operating safely, then that's all we have to do. If for some reason that the signs get ignored because people don't see them or whatever, we'll have to readdress other means to mark that area for no wake. But I was there this weekend, and that was one of the places that was just 3 or 4 boats in there at one time going in different directions, all thrown off a wake. There was a couple people that actually went through their no wake, and I felt bad for them because they almost got swamped because there's people that just go ripping by you, and they pass you like within 5 feet of another vessel. So it's just crazy. There's no need for it, and someone's going to get hurt.
You should try it in a single scull.
Oh, I'm sure. And it can be dangerous. I've been out there standing on a paddleboard though, so try doing that sometime.
Yeah.
Stand on a piece of plywood and go through that thing. We've discussed law enforcement. The next item. Does anyone have any questions on the safety on that plan? Oh, I'm sorry. There's one more thing I want to bring up too, and that is when we bring the buoys out. And Sean, I hope you and Kyle are still with us here. When we bring the buoys out this year, I really would like to mark them, number them, and we'll provide the numbers and we'll put decals on the buoys to mark the buoys. And I know that that's going to be kind of a pain in the neck because you got to put the buoy back in the same spot that you had it before. But the reason I'd like to do that is one, we're trying to develop a map of landmarks that will help everybody on the lake. So, for example, there'll be basically a map of the different points of the lake. So, like Kings Point, the Narrows. There'll be Blake Island, the Drake Island, or whatever you end up calling. So we'll decide on what names we're going to call what islands if they have multiple names. Some of them like Drake Island, for example, is Drake Island, Long Island, Coast Guard Island. Now that people are calling it Eagle Island. So we have to kind of standardize on a name and figure it out. But this is good. I think Bill, you asked for this from the rowers' perspective. We'll do that. Also, I want to number the buoys for that same reason. That's one of the reasons I want to do it. Is that so I'm next to buoy 52. You go on any river or any other water body, any other waterway, they're numbered. They're numbered for a reason, so that when you have a distress or you need to call someone, you can say, "I'm at this buoy," instead of saying, "I'm at the buoy in front of Eastern Shores." So that's what I'd really like to do that. The second reason I want to do that is we keep losing buoys. They keep getting away from us and going to different spots. And it's hard to remember, it's hard to figure out where they are. We have a no wake buoy out there that's sitting there. It's actually sitting in front of Maduka's right now because it drifted in and Mike Maduka called us and said, what do you want me to do with this thing? And I don't know where it goes. It's not the one that goes in front of Fitzgerald's. which is right next door to Medusa's. That one's down. I think that's under the bridge somewhere. And not only that, that's not a no wake buoy. That's a danger buoy. So, or should be a danger buoy. So I'm not really sure. The no wake in front of Half Moon is still installed there. The one, the two over here that we just put in, they're there. The one in front of the Stringer Dam is there. So I'm not sure where I'm not sure where this no wake buoy goes. So, but that would also help that effort. That if we find, again, buoy number 52 is floating around out there, we know we can put it back in front of to where it belongs and keep everyone safe. So it just makes, I think it's going to make things easier. Makes things a little bit more tricky when you're putting the buoys out. Also, I'm going to offer, and I've heard this from a couple of different people, Sean and Kyle, that that they would be happy to form a work party and come out and help you deal with things out and putting them back in again. So you let me know. I know you guys have been doing that every season, and if you'd like some help doing that, we'll all pitch in. Any comments or questions about that?
Sounds like a good idea, numbering them. Something we can do before we put them out in the spring, or we can always number them when in the fall when we go to take them out if you want.
Well, I'm thinking that may be the way to do it, because that way it's you know where it went, and we can kind of write that down on a piece of paper. So when you took it out in front of whatever, you took it out in Half Moon Cove, we know that buoy number, I keep using 52. I don't know what that's popping in my head, but you put buoy number 52 at Half Moon Cove and whatnot. And so it's up to you, though. Just do it either way. Just as long as they stay in a consistent spot. So when we make the map, 52 is where 52 is supposed to be. Someone else said besides me?
No, it seems like a good idea. I recall from going in and out of big harbors that the buoys in most of the countries I've been going in and out in harbors, they're numbered as you go out of the harbor. So it seems to be a safety method that is used worldwide.
Right. Okay, good. So everyone will be kind of used to it. And there'll be other landmarks on the maps, like the islands and the Narrows, and who knows? We may even put other things on there, architecture, White City, or obviously the Route 9 bridge. So there'll be other stuff on there, but we'll try to get that done over the between now and next season. Okay. And I think I guess we go from here. We go. I don't have the another agenda here. I did the right one. Are we to the watershed application yet? Or just Jacqueline come first? Angela, help me out. What's next?
Usually, Mr. Chair, usually the city of Worcester gives a report first on the Watershed Association. If my memory.
Is that where we are? Is that where we are in the scheme of things, Angela?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Very good. So, Jacqueline.
Hello.
What's up now with all this crazy stuff in the lake and bacteria, and, all the little crawly things in there?
Yeah, well, we know the bacteria isn't social distancing, so I will be talking a little bit about that now. Am I able to share my screen?
Angela says yes.
All right. All right. So I want to start this presentation to give like a little update about, kind of just show you this picture of the monitoring buoys. I'm sure a lot of you have seen them on the lake already. They're basically these anchor buoys that say danger and a tag that says environmental monitoring and the DPW hotline if you have any questions. attached to these little solar powered buoys that are collecting data that I'm going to talk about today. I've received some requests from people using the lake that they would like to have a light on the buoys. They are sort of in the middle of the lake and people aren't necessarily used to them being there. So we are going to try to affix some solar powered lights on there. We'll see what we can do. There is some concern about them staying on there. So we'll give it a shot and see how it goes. So jumping into the report, the last time I was out on Lake Quinsigamond was August 18th and 19th. We're seeing temperatures in the middle of the lake around 77 degrees Fahrenheit, and we're still seeing really high levels of oxygen in the surface of the water, which is great for our fish. We're also seeing high clarity. The clarity this year is slightly higher than it has been in years past, and we're seeing this trend across all the lakes and ponds in Worcester. So if I lower my black and white disc into the water, I could see it down to 16 feet in the northern basin of the pond, which is pretty good. And this E. coli number here at the northern portion of the lake where I sample in the middle of the lake, that's from this past sampling date, so not in July and August. And the level was 6.26 colonies per 100 milliliter, which is very low. So even while we are seeing like these higher elevated numbers at the beaches, we haven't seen them too high in the middle of the lake. So that's just a trend that we have been observing. And then phosphorus levels, which of course is a nutrient of concern that we track because the state has identified Lake Quinsigamond as having a problem with phosphorus. We're seeing very low levels of phosphorus at the surface in the middle of the lake, although when we did go and sample the tributaries, Coal Mine Brook and Poor Farm Brook were dry. They usually are around this time of year. Billings Brook was also not flowing very much, but what the sample I did get had very high levels of phosphorus in it, close to 0.1 milligram per liter. And this has been a recurring trend in this area. At the Irish Dam, we saw fairly low levels of phosphorus as well, and we kind of think of this sample as the one that represents what's going down the Middle River, or to the Middle River. Does anyone have any questions on that?
Yeah, I have a question, Mr. Chair. Michael Piper here. I have some concerns in terms of the Western Terrace, Whitland Drive, Brook discharge area. In terms of the bacteria count coming out of that specific stream and pumping station area.
So I am not sampling those tributaries, but I know the Lake Quinsigamond Watershed Association, Gia is sampling at that location, and I know she can give you a better idea of the most recent results.
Mm-hmm.
For that.
Jacqueline, hopefully you're aware that historically, unfortunately, the Whitland Drive pumping station has been a sad and serious point of discharge of sewage. I know the city's been working, and it seems like they've been working for a while to increase the capacity of that pumping station, but I guess it would be important for people who use the lake and live down in that area relative to swimming in the lake to know in terms of the status of how that project is going. Again, relative to and I'm going to use a qualifying term, and the unfortunate history of that pumping station in the stream there. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yep. No, thank you for that comment, and that is one of the reasons why the Commission, the Watershed Association, and the city have come together to create that monitoring program so that we can have a better understanding of what those levels are looking like. So thanks for that. To talk about bacteria samples at the beaches themselves, this data is from VCR. They sample about every week at Regatta Point and Lake Park Beach. This is data from 2017 through 2020. The green numbers are when it's below the threshold for recreational, that's safe for recreational use. And when you see red numbers, that's when you see it's a little bit, when it's over that threshold and a closure needs to happen. We saw that in 2019, we had a really great year. We only had one closure for one day at Regatta Point. And I think we were really looking forward to having another year like that. That has not been the case. We have seen a few more closures this year. And so we are working on trying to better understand that. We've been putting into place some systems to alert DPW when there is an exceedance to get a DNA biomarker sample. So we are trying to get a sample when the level is high so we can determine the source of the bacteria. Up to this point, we haven't had an exceedance high enough when I am close enough to get a sample and I'm alerted in time to be able to grab that sample. But that is a system we have in place now so that if we see this happen again, hopefully we can determine if it's human cause or if it's goose cause or if it's dog cause. In addition, we are working on a database to lump all of the data on bacteria together so we can determine a little bit better the patterns of these exceedances. We have many organizations that are collecting data, including the Watershed Association, the samples I'm collecting, DPW on the Worcester and the Shrewsbury side. If there's a way that we could get all this data in one place and share it, I think we would all have a better understanding of the hot spots and be able to better respond in the future. And so that's something that we're also moving forward on. I'm having some conversations with some technology folks on this end on how we can make that happen. And finally, there are some educational videos available on what these exceedances mean. They're on the City of Worcester YouTube page. But these last few weeks, the beaches have been open, so we haven't seen any closures for the last 2 weeks or so. So things are looking pretty good. I wanted to briefly touch on oxygen in the lower portion of the lake. We have seen that as the months warm, there's less oxygen in the lower portions of the deeper areas of the lake. This is concerning to us primarily because of fish populations. Fish need oxygen to breathe. And so what I do is I go out and I test how much oxygen is in the water at various depths, as well as the temperature of the water, and I create these graphs. And really the take home here is where these straight lines intersect. That's the depth at which there is less than 4 milligrams per liter of oxygen. This is the level where they say that most fish have trouble breathing and therefore cannot swim. So while Lake Quinsigamond is up to over 80 feet, in some areas, fish can't swim that low. They really, in August, could only swim to about 35 feet because that's when oxygen levels start dropping below what they could tolerate. And so this is something, obviously, that we want to track just to make sure that it's not changing significantly from year to year. And we're seeing that that's not the case. We're seeing the same pattern as we saw last year. What's interesting is that surface temperatures do jump fairly quickly. Beginning of August is when we see the highest temperatures of the year, and we are already seeing them starting to come back down. Finally, I just wanted to give people a quick sneak preview of the buoy data. So these monitors that we've installed are collecting data remotely and sending it remotely to an online dashboard every 15 minutes, 24 hours a day. So they're going to give us like some real-time data of what's going on in the lake. And so we have here a chart of water temperature over the period of about 7 days. And you could see that on the surface, water temperature varies, of course, by the time of day. It's a little bit cooler at night and a little bit warmer during the day, which is pretty intuitive. But these are patterns that will inch in one direction or another throughout the course of the year, and will be something that we continue to compile over time. More interestingly, we are able to study pigments. We're getting real-time data on pigments associated with cyanobacteria. Those are those blue-green algae. We use two pigments to determine their presence. One is chlorophyll, which we know about from biology class. It's in all photosynthesizing plants and algae. So it's that pigment that harvests sunlight. In blue-green algae, phycocyanin is also used. So when we detect phycocyanin, we have a better understanding of if there are cyanobacteria present. What we're finding right now is that there is some chlorophyll in the water, and there are cycles of it throughout the day, where it's lower at sometimes and higher at others, but then we're not seeing any phycocyanin. So the algae activity in the lake seems to be the kind that is not producing those toxins that we're worried about up to this point. Just another general update about the buoys. We had removed the south buoy to get it recalibrated and recharged. This technology is still pretty new, and the company is working really hard with us to make sure that it's working for us properly. And so there are a few kinks to work out, and with COVID, they haven't been able to come out as easily to do it on the spot. So we have been shipping them back and forth to the company. So we are getting that buoy back on Monday, and we are going to get the northern one recalibrated and some software updates done that week. So we will be removing the northern buoy and replacing the southern buoy, and hopefully at the northern buoy back by the end of the month of September, so that we could get some October, November readings on both buoys and start to be able to compare what's going on in the northern and southern basin of the lake. But just FYI, if you see that it is no longer there, you don't have to call. It's not going to be there for a few days. And then finally, just an update about our stormwater remediation project on Lake Ave North near Coal Mine Brook. It was approved for construction at Worcester Concom on June 8th. We are still finalizing some plans before we put it out to bid, but it should be put out to bid soon. Does anyone have any questions on all of that? I know that's kind of a bit.
Yes, Jacqueline, I have two.
Yeah.
These were two questions asked of me by, let's say, an unnamed member of the Quinsigamond Rowing Association. He posed it to me. He said, when we are rowing down the lake in our single, we're rowing backwards, and we have to glance around to the left and right as much as we can without tipping over to see what's in front of us so we don't hit anything. And he said he hit one of our buoys, one of your automated buoys. So he had two questions. The first was, why don't we put them next to something, another type of buoy, so it's more easily observed, something that sticks out of the water higher? And his second question was, could he possibly have damaged it by hitting it with his skull?
So we got those anchor buoys specifically for that purpose. I don't know if you think there's something we could get that's even larger than those anchor buoys. They're about 4 or 5 feet tall. They only come out of the water about 3 feet though. So are there other buoys? If there's another buoy available, we could definitely look into that. But yeah, we did get that. And hopefully the light will help make it more visible as well. But I do understand that it is in an area that was previously highly trafficked. So I'm open to suggestions on what can make this more visible.
My understanding was he claimed it was floating by itself. There was no other buoy. It was only an inch above the water level.
Oh, I see. So maybe he was talking about the smaller round disc.
Yes.
So the way that that's tethered is that it's on a cable that's attached to the bottom mooring hook of the buoy. And so the purpose of that is that, it could kind of, with the waves that the lake experiences, it's not going to be sucked underwater or have too much tension on it. So, but it does mean that when it's very flat out, it could float up to about 3 or 4 feet from the actual buoy, the mooring buoy itself. So I could imagine that maybe he steered clear of the mooring buoy, but maybe still hit the disc. With the force of a single, I mean, unless he was going very, very fast, I think we're probably okay.
It's still working?
It's still working, yes.
Good.
But yeah, so I guess letting people know that this disc does float a little bit further away from the mooring buoy would be helpful to the rowing community.
Jacqueline, Michael Piper
Yep.
here, Vice Chair. It's a comment and a proposal with the City of Worcester via working with you, in the future to entertain another such buoy. I would suggest that one might be put in the southern part of the lake near the Whitlet Drive pumping station and that stream over there. Frankly, nobody typically goes right in the corner there, but and I don't think it would be much of a navigation hazard, but the information from such might be very valuable in terms of what's going on at that end of the lake, and again, relative to that stream and the pumping station. Thank you, Jacqueline.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, and the idea is to get more of these buoys in the future. This was kind of our trial run, and we wanted to put them in the places. So these were the locations that I usually sample from when I go out to sample. And so the rationale for putting them here, they're the deepest part of the lake. Supposedly they're the most representative in some way because of that. But then also we could compare that data and kind of calibrate it with the data that I'm collecting when I go out and sample. But yes, the idea is that if this technology proves to be really useful for us, to deploy them elsewhere. So yeah, that's a great suggestion.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay,
Mr. Chair?
yes, is that,
One more thing,
Is that it?
Peter. Hi, this is
Yes.
Lucas from Regatta Point Community Sailing.
Yeah.
I just want to let you know, Jackie, that the beach was closed as of today at Regatta Point State Park.
Oh, really?
So it's probably
Really? Okay.
due to the massive amounts of rain we received, but just so you know that we do have a closure.
Oh, thank you for letting me know. I guess I did not receive that email today. Thank you. We are closed today.
I would have been surprised if that beach was open after, I know that I got a video, and I think Mike Liberty may have seen this live, but when that storm was going on, this isn't a video of the outfall near the beach, but it's a video of the outfall at Belmont, and it was gushing out of there. It was just coming out, and there was an odor right there too. So that was scary. But this was a heavy amount of rain that happened in a short amount of time. So it was I can see how it would overwhelm things.
All right. Well, I'll work on getting those numbers to see if it's an event that I could go out and collect a sample for tomorrow.
I still would love to know also that if Whitler's up online yet down there, and because the exceedance, and we'll probably hear that in a second, but that's a little concerning over there. Is that all, Jacqueline?
That's all I've got.
All right, great job again. Thank you very much. Bill, just one more thing, Jacqueline. So which buoy did he hit, Bill?
He claimed it was the small disc-shaped.
Which one? The south or the one in the north? Because one of them broke. So if I just want the guy's name, so we can, so we can pay for it. All right. So up next is the Lake Quinsigamond Watershed Association.
Okay, hello, this is Barbara. Jackie, I did have a question for you. Are we planning to add lights to the buoys in the future? I think Mike Piper was most interested in bacteria, and you're collecting phycocyanin and chlorophyll A. So
Yes. So the buoys currently just collect the pigments associated with cyanobacteria, which is distinct from the fecobacteria.
Okay. And the commission and the watershed, our collaborative is testing for bacteria. Yes. So we are test that's covered under our test.
Correct. So how do I share my screen? While Jackie was talking, I was trying to figure out how to do that. Does Angela have to do it for me?
There should be a button at the bottom that says share your screen, where like past your microphone and the camera.
Nope.
I think it says present now.
Oh, present now. Okay, there you go. Okay. I have two screens, so, okay, so you see this is our data table. Which one do you see? Because I have two screens. Do you see my screen with the data table?
I don't see anything but you.
We don't see it yet.
Oh, okay, now, all right, there we go. Okay, now you see it. I had to pick which screen.
It's coming.
Yeah, there it is.
There we go.
Okay, so Gia had shared this last week, but last month, but she shared, she had a presentation about each one of her sampling locations. And so I just want to circle back to the results we have so far. We've sampled every other week. So we have 3 additional sampling rounds, but we don't have the results back yet. There's been a glitch with one of the week's samples with the lab, and then the lab has they got their system hacked, and so we're a little bit delayed on that. But the yellow samples show exceedances. The EPA primary recreational standard is for E. coli is 235. You can see that we're double that in many locations. So specifically at Whitla Pumping Station, we had almost 6,000 June 2nd. June 30th. This was after a week of rain. And then the middle of July, we got a 1,700 CFUs per 100 hit. This sample actually is what we're questioning with the lab, because the next 2 weeks later, we got the exact same result. So we're a little confused about that. But overall, you can see the trend. It is pretty high there. And it may be because of the construction that's going on. But it's also Fitzgerald Brook. We had 2 big hits. Meadowbrook on the Shrewsbury side, we almost hit the standard mid-June, and then we double it on this. This is the worst date, this June 30th date, because of it ended about a week of rain. Belmont Street Alpha is not as bad as I would suspect, but the times that it does exceed, it's pretty high. But I also want to point out that the 2 locations that we sample, midpoint to lake, similar to what Jackie does, they're pretty low. South Basin midpoint and the North Basin midpoint, they've all been pretty low. So even though we get high bacteria hits in the tributaries coming into the lake, and we definitely need to address that because it's bringing down the overall water quality. It's still safe in the main part of the lake. We still recommend people not swim immediately after big rainfalls for 1 to 2 days. But in general, the bacteria does dissipate and die off fairly quickly. It dives down, it gets hit at the surface, killed by UV light. So it's, when people wonder about what's the quality of the lake itself, it's pretty good. So we have 1 more sample round. We'll be done from here. We'll give a final report to the commission either next month or the following month. I just did want to give a safety summary of the watershed meeting last week. We had about 16 people on our Zoom meeting. There were still concerns about the speeding jet skis, both coming too close to shore, impacting the shoreline, impacting docks. But we're also cognizant that things have improved over the last couple weeks, and we're happy to see that. We have I personally live across from Downing Beach, and we've had a lot of noise and a lot of traffic over there all summer. But the Worcester Police, the water detail coordinated with the land detail, and they came down and talked to some people, and the noise has quieted down in the last 3 weekends. It has not been outrageous. So they definitely got the word out. And so we really appreciate that. People are they're still going to call in. They still have their comments and complaints about the safety. Last Sunday when I was up with Pete and Mike, it was actually terrifying. It was so scary. There were so many close calls all around us. And then in fact, we were on the other end of the lake when the near drowning occurred near the ramp. There were so many boats around that ramp because of the rain, and so many boats trying to get out at the same time. It's amazing someone didn't get hurt. So it's still a concern, but people are realizing that the police are doing a great job, and they have stepped up their presence, and we appreciate that. I also wanted to also mention that we put in, also organized by Mike Liberty. We got 8 volunteers to go out and install stormwater drain markers along North and South Quinsigamond in Shrewsbury. 5 of those volunteers were from Newton Pond and 3 from Lake Quinsig. And Angela got coordinated with the DPW, and we had 2 trucks for safety. And we got all of that done in about 2.5, 3 hours. It was very quick. So thanks, Mike, and hopefully we'll be organizing some more. That's it.
Okay, I guess the takeaway tonight is, Mike Liberty.
Yeah. We need a couple more of him.
we need some more mics. And again, thank you very much for all the stuff you're doing. So I think that's it. One more quick little thing though. This is just a kind of a preview of where we're going to be going in the future, but I have a little thing here. I don't know if anyone can see that. In my camera. This is a decibel meter. It's on my iPhone. Okay, I've been taking the meter all the whole meeting, and some of you speak louder than others. Okay, just want you to know that. But so this is something that this is actually the free app in there, and it's something. So anyone who's out in the lake, anyone who lives on the lake, and they want to, and I can think of at least one person's house I'd love to get a reading in front of from Lake Park. But you can get this on there, and I'd love to see what the thing is there. We're trying to determine a common sense rule about noise, and something that's enforceable, and we can measure. So I'm reviewing rules from New Hampshire and some other states that have these things in place for the waterway. So more update on that later on. Other than that, I think I'm done. If anyone has any questions or anything else, then I would accept the motion to. Oh, wait a minute. When's our next meeting? And is it going to be a virtual meeting?
Wednesday, September 30th.
Mm-hmm.
Is that accurate?
Yeah. It's still virtual.
It's still virtual? Okay. So Wednesday, September 30th, right here on your computer, you can come and see us. So now I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
There's a bunch of seconds in this one. Wow. Okay. All in favor. We got to go through the roll again. Sorry, just one more time. I vote aye. Mr. Pica.
Aye.
Officer Valier.
Aye.
Aye. Captain DeAndre.
Aye.
All right, Mr. Polito.
Aye.
I guess that one. Okay, Mr. Nickerson.
Aye.
And Mr. Nelson. You can nod your head if you want, Bill.
I don't think he heard you.
Oh.
Bill?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. All right.
Can't hear you, Peter.
Sorry about that. That's it. So thank you very much. Meeting adjourned.
Thank you, Peter.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night.
Have a good night. Thank you.